This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, June 2012, the LA Kings capture a Stanley Cup that a lot of people thought would never happen in the LA franchise. How the 2012 LA Kings got to the Stanley Cup playoffs and to the finals is a feat in itself. But let's talk about the LA Kings first. They were one of the great expansion teams of 1967. You know, the 6 teams that added on to the original 6. For a few years in this early part of the great expansion, one of the expansion teams would face one of the original 6 teams in the Stanley Cup Finals until they decided to try to change the format in '71. The LA Kings came close a couple of times and should have been the champions of the West Division, aka the expansion division, in 1967-68. But they blew it to the Dark Stars, I think. Anyway, but LA was searching high and low. In the 70s, they had some good teams, but basically the playoffs would be failures upon failures. 1982, they shocked the world by taking down the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. Yes, the miracle in Manchester happened, but you got to remember too, the LA Kings could have flubbed it. They could have had that one comeback from 5-0 down and still lost the playoff series. They had to win Game 5 in Edmonton to get that trip to the conference, to the division finals, which Vancouver snatched them. Murphy, hello. So anyway, the LA Kings got gold, in a sense, as Wayne Gretzky would basically be given to the LA Kings by the Oilers for the what, of $15 million. There were players above, but I don't want to get too far into that. So anyway, the Kings decided to change their color scheme from purple and gold to silver and black, basically inspired by the Raiders, the LA Raiders. And it worked. LA Kings fans were flocking. There were celebrities like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell and a few other people. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, the Kings looked decent. And, you know, they were sliding along. 93 was a trip to the to the Stanley Cup Finals, which was shocking in itself. I mean, how they got there, a little controversial, thanks to the conference finals against the Leafs, thanks to Gretzky, the non-calling Gretzky in Game 6 of the series that could have changed things up a bit. But no, it didn't have to be that way. I mean, it was set up to be Montreal versus Toronto for the Stanley Cup, if you will. But no, they couldn't have it that way, huh? Do you think Batman was behind this? Probably not. It's Carrie Fraser. So anyway, the Kings lost the Stanley Cup Finals, mostly thanks to McSorley's terrible stick, which gave Montreal momentum. The Kings ballyhooed themselves, and basically, except for a few playoff upsets in the 2000s, they were really a fantastic team. And basically, you know, what are you going to do? So the LA Kings were not really that good. The 2012 Stanley Cup playoffs were huge. It actually marked the first time since 1996 that no Canadian team made it to the second round, or the conference semis, if you will. And Florida actually ended up finally making the postseason for the first time since 2000. So that was a 12-year drought for them. And they talk about the Leafs having a massive playoff drought after lockout, post-lockout. So anyway, Jonathan Quick was an icon, the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. His 1.41 goals against average was obviously good. The Kings actually ended up clinching postseason game in their second last game of the regular season. They became the first 8-seeded team to win the Stanley Cup in NHL history, and the second 8 seed to reach the Cup final after the 2006 Oilers. They actually ended up eliminating the 1, 2, and 3 seeds for the playoffs in the same postseason after the 2004 Flames did that. In fact, the Kings were the first team to get to the Stanley Cup Finals being undefeated on the road with an 8-0 mark, which was amazing. All that. And the Devils were actually the 6th seed in the Eastern playoffs. So basically, they somehow got home ice advantage. So anyway, the East and the West happened. It was supposed to be Rangers versus Vancouver if the seedings held up and all that. So basically, the Rangers would take on the Senator. So the 1 seed Rangers had to handle the challenge of the 8 seed Senators and had to win in Game 7 on home ice. Washington, the 7 seed, shocked number 2 Boston in 7 games, thanks to a overtime goal by Joel Ward and a lot of racist rhetoric from Bruins fans. PK Subban can attest to that. The 6 seed Devils shocked the number 3 seed Panthers with a 4-3 win, winning Game 7 thanks to Adam Henrique's goal. Philly would then take care of Pittsburgh in 6 games. So only one of the top 4 seeds in the East qualified for the conference semifinals. That was New York. So the Rangers had to take on Washington, and again, it was a 7-game series. It was really back and forth and all that. Joe Ward kind of placed the GOAT in Game 5 after his double minor helped the Rangers win that game in overtime. New Jersey would take care of Philly in 5 games to set up Rangers Devils and potentially a Rangers Stanley Cup finals appearance. But sadly, though, the Devils won in 6 games. BSU will be pissed. Anyway, the West saw number 2 St. Louis take care of San Jose in 5. Number 3 Phoenix actually beating the Chicago Blackhawks in 6 games. And you'll be thinking back to 2012. Did I hear that right? The Coyotes actually won a playoff series? That's right. Ever since they moved from Winnipeg to Phoenix, the Coyotes were always been in the playoffs. I think it was some kind of mojo from Washington, cursed by Winnipeg players. But the Coyotes won in 6 games, shocking the Blackhawks, who 2 years prior won the Stanley Cup. I mean, the Coyotes were known for choking playoff series leads when they get to 3 wins, but basically, yeah, they won a playoff series. That was only the 3rd time in history that the Jets/Coyotes won a playoff series. 85-87, first round. But anyway, Nashville beat Detroit in 5 games. But the big series was LA in the conference quarterfinals against Vancouver. Vancouver were the conference and NHL champions. Well, they won the President's Trophy. And the Kings got lucky to get in as the 8th seed and all that. So basically, everyone said that the Canucks looked like they were going to win a trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. However, the Kings shocked everyone by winning games 1 and 2 in Vancouver, and then winning Game 3 at home 1-0. It was like, whoa! The LA Kings are up 3-0. Looks like the Canucks are not going anywhere. All that. Vancouver did win Game 4, but lost Game 5 on a goal by who was the guy? Jared Stahl scored the winning goal for the Kings. And the LA Kings sent the Canucks packing 5 games. The President's Trophy winners, too. Like, wow. How the hell did Vancouver screw up? I mean, 2011, they got to the Stanley Cup Finals and lost Game 7 at home, but people thought there was a revenge tour. Nope. Corey Schneider would then become Vancouver's starting goalie after the first few games and all that. So, yeah, the Kings, for the first time in 11 years, got to the second round. They would take on the St. Louis Blues, who were the 2 seed. And everyone thought that the Blues would have a trip to the conference finals. It would be great. But the Kings not only beat the Blues, they swept them. So LA had only lost 1 game to the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the playoffs. Wow. First time conference finals since in almost 2 decades. That's amazing. All that. First time in history that the 8 seed beat both number 1 and number 2 seeds within their conference. Wow. In fact, this was the only sweep of the 2012 playoffs. And standing in LA's way, Phoenix. Yes, Phoenix took care of Nashville in 5 games. Wow, Phoenix is for real. Maybe they're breaking the jinx. Or maybe not. Whatever. But anyway, the Coyotes and Kings would face each other. All that. So, anyway, there was a bit of a problem for booking, especially with the fact that the Lakers and Clippers were in the playoffs and still needed Staples Center. But anyway, the Kings shocked everyone by going up 3-0 on the Coyotes. Well, the Coyotes were the 3 seed. Coyotes should have done something, but no, the Kings did something. They lost Game 4 at home, but somehow, in some way, they won Game 5 on the road thanks to Dustin Penner's overtime goal. And the Kings' road playoff streak was 10 games, which was amazing. So, On they go to the Stanley Cup Finals against the New Jersey Devils. Both of them Cinderella stories, and people thought the Devils were going to win because, Martin Brodeur was still around. I didn't think so. I thought LA deserved to beat the Devils. I just couldn't let the Devils win after taking care of New York. The Kings would win the games 1 and 2 in overtime in New Jersey, which was nice. They won game 3 and were poised to actually sweep the Devils on home ice. They lost game 4 3-1, and shockingly, the Kings actually lost on the road for the first time in the 2012 playoffs in game 5 2-1. But thanks to a questionable 5-minute penalty by the Devils, the Kings scored twice on that power play and never looked back. 6-1 Kings won game 6, and the series was over. Dustin Brown scored 20 points to lead the postseason in scoring and all that. It was like, holy crow. The Kings only lost one playoff game in the entire year. It's like, that's unfathomable. So, sorry, I have to get to the Stanley Cup. The people who were part of the Stanley Cup and all that. Yeah. Actually, some other stats about the 2012 finals. This was the first time 2 American-born captains faced off in that thing. Dustin Brown and Zach Parise were the captains. Dustin Brown was American. I remember that. In fact, Dustin Brown became the second American-born captain to lead his team to a Stanley Cup after Darian Hatcher of the Stars in 1999. LA, of course, became the lowest seed to win the Stanley Cup in the conference format. The previous record was the 5 seed New Jersey Devils in 1995. Anyway, yeah, this was amazing. All of that. So, yeah, the Kings had some decent players. Centers were Mike Richards, Kitchener. That's right. Mike Richards was on that team from Kitchener Ranger and former Flyer, who went to LA also with another Flyer turned King, Jeff Carter. So the Flyers really screwed up. They also had Jose Kopitar, Brad Richardson, Trevor Lewis, Colin Fraser, Jarrett Stahl, and Jordan Nolan. Ted Nolan's son. That's nice for the Indigenous community. Getting a Stanley Cup champion. Simon Gagne, Kyle Clifford, Justin Williams, Kevin Westgarth, who didn't actually play in the finals. So he couldn't be part of the Stanley Cup thing. Dustin Brown, Dustin Penner, Dwight King, Matt Green, Rob Scudari, Drew Doughty, Slava Voynov, Alec Martinez, who would be superstar 2 years later in the playoffs, Willie Mitchell, Davis Drewski, Jonathan Quake, and Jonathan Bernier. Yeah. So anyway, there were some things, all that. Even though Kevin Westgard and Davis Drewski didn't play much, excuse me, in the regular season, actually got their names on the Stanley Cup for some reason. Yeah, so, and the weird thing is Terry Murray was head coach of the Kings before Daryl Sutter in the 2012 season, but his name was not on the cup. So anyway, they also had some players who were included in the team picture but left off the Stanley Cup. Andrei Luktinoff, Scott Parse, Martin Jones. I forgot Martin Jones was a King prospect before going to the Sharks. Andre Cliche and Jake Muzzin were recalled during the playoffs but didn't play any games. Jake Muzzin, that's right. So anyway, yeah. It was amazing and all of that. A lot of people said that the final was marred by bad ratings because of the Devils and the Kings. But anyway, it's still a good time to be an LA Kings fan. 2 years later, they would piss off a lot of New York Ranger fans by winning the Stanley Cup. Can't blame them. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do